The Aurora drifted further into the nebula, its sensors still scanning the brilliant swirls of violet and gold. Captain Elias Mercer could feel the lingering presence of the alien queen, a quiet pressure at the edge of his mind. She was observing, analyzing, and judging. And though she had not spoken to them since the test, Elias knew that she was learning, discovering the patterns of human thought, creativity, and resilience. "Captain," Lieutenant Mara Singh said, breaking the silence, "the energy readings are stabilizing, but they are unusual. It's as if the nebula itself is reacting to us, almost alive, almost aware of our actions." Elias nodded. "Yes, whatever this queen is, she is not just a ruler or a warrior. She is a thinker, and she measures everything. Every choice we make, every move we take is being observed. We need to act carefully, but also show her what it means to be human." Ensign Kaito, still scanning the strange energy patterns, frowned. "Sir, it's reacting to our decisions. Our experiments, our simulations, even our conversations are triggering responses in the nebula. I think the Queen is using this environment to see how we adapt, how we respond to challenges." Elias took a deep breath. "Then let's give her a proper display. Not to impress, but to show her that humans survive not by strength alone, but by ingenuity, teamwork, and moral courage. Prepare the crew. I want simulations, problem-solving exercises, anything that demonstrates human adaptability." The crew exchanged surprised glances, but they trusted their captain. They understood that this was a delicate situation. Every human action, every demonstration of skill or intellect could influence how the alien queen viewed them. And if humanity was to survive this encounter, it had to prove that it was worthy of recognition, not just as a species, but as a force of thought, creativity, and resilience. The first challenge came almost immediately. The sensors detected a rapidly approaching cluster of ionized particles, like a storm in space, but far more dangerous. The particles were unstable, capable of damaging the ship's hull and disabling critical systems. It was an obstacle that no human had encountered before. "Captain," Kaito said, eyes wide, "this is beyond anything in our training simulations. Shields alone will not hold. We need a strategy, and fast." Elias studied the readings. "Right, shields alone won't work. But neither will avoidance. We have to use our minds, not just our machines. Mara, open the navigation arrays. Kaito, calculate multiple trajectories, factoring in every environmental variable we can measure. Crew, be ready for manual adjustments if the system fails." As the crew worked, Elias's mind raced. He considered the principles of physics, strategy, and probability. He thought about human ingenuity, how for centuries, humans had faced challenges that seemed impossible and survived by thinking differently, by combining creativity with courage. "Here's what we do," Elias said. "We cannot simply avoid the storm. We need to manipulate it, use the ship's energy distribution to create a feedback loop, redirecting the ionized particles safely around the hull. It's risky, but it's the only way. Trust your training and trust each other." The crew moved with precision. Every calculation, every adjustment was a demonstration of human coordination and intellect. They relied not on brute force, but on strategy, improvisation, and communication. Slowly, the ionized storm began to bend around the ship, deflected by the clever manipulation of the ship's energy systems. The Aurora emerged unscathed, and the crew exhaled collectively, relief mixing with pride. Elias allowed himself a small smile. "See that? This is how humans survive, not by power alone, but by thinking, adapting, and acting together." The nebula pulsed in response, and for a moment, Elias could feel the alien queen's attention like a tangible force. She had observed the challenge, and she had seen how humans overcame it, not with force but with ingenuity. Next came the test of morality. The ship's sensors detected a cluster of alien creatures trapped in an energy field, seemingly unable to move. The creatures were not hostile, but they were fragile, and the field was growing stronger. The choice was clear: save the creatures and risk the ship, or ignore them and continue the mission safely. Elias hesitated for only a moment. "We save them," he said firmly. "Humanity is defined not just by survival, but by compassion. We cannot leave them to suffer if we can help." Mara looked at him, admiration in her eyes. "Agreed, Captain. Let's do it." The crew worked together, calculating a method to carefully neutralize the energy field without damaging the creatures or the ship. Every adjustment was precise, every move coordinated. Finally, with a soft pulse of energy, the field dissolved, and the creatures floated free, unharmed. Elias watched them drift away and felt a deep sense of satisfaction. "Humanity survives by courage," he said quietly. "But we also endure because we care. That is our strength." The nebula shimmered again, and Elias could sense the alien queen's awareness. She had seen humans face danger with intelligence and suffering with compassion. She had observed the unpredictable yet reliable essence of humanity. Then came the test of improvisation. A sudden anomaly appeared in the nebula, a gravitational distortion that threatened to pull the Aurora into its center. The ship's autopilot could not compensate fast enough. Systems warned of potential failure. "Manual control," Elias said sharply. "We have to think faster than the machine. Kaito, recalibrate the thrusters to compensate for the distortion gradients. Mara, monitor hull integrity and energy distribution. Crew, prepare for rapid adjustments." The ship shuddered as the distortion pulled at its hull. Elias's hands flew over the controls, calculating angles, velocities, and vectors faster than any computer. The crew responded instantly, moving in perfect synchronization. Using a combination of rapid thrusts, energy redirection, and manual guidance, they twisted the ship through the distortion, narrowly avoiding catastrophe. Elias exhaled, wiping sweat from his brow. Humanity does not rely on machines alone. We use our minds, our instincts, and our courage to survive when all else fails. The alien queen's presence seemed to flicker, pulsing with interest. She had observed humans face threats that no other species could anticipate, and she had seen them prevail. Humans were small, fragile, and yet capable of extraordinary feats through intelligence, creativity, and determination. Finally, Elias understood the purpose of these trials. The Queen was not just testing him, she was testing the essence of humanity. She wanted to know what made humans remarkable, what made them unpredictable, and why one human alone could stand against challenges that even her species could not fully comprehend. "Captain," Mara said softly, "she's not leaving. I think she wants more. She's fascinated by us." Elias nodded, understanding. Yes, fascination is one thing. Fear is another. She has seen that humans are capable of great courage and ingenuity. That alone is a threat to her species' understanding of the universe. We are small, yes, but we are powerful in ways she cannot fully control. He looked around the bridge at his crew, pride swelling in his chest. Each member had demonstrated the qualities that made humans extraordinary: courage, intelligence, empathy, and creativity. Together they had survived storms, freed creatures, and navigated impossible anomalies. Together they had shown the alien queen the unpredictable power of humanity, and yet Elias knew the test was not over. The queen's attention lingered, a silent challenge that would continue. The universe was vast, and humans had only just begun to show what they were capable of. He pressed his hand to the console, feeling the hum of the ship beneath him. "This is what it means to be human," he said quietly. "We survive. We adapt, we care, we think, we endure. And even when we are small, we can face the unknown with courage and ingenuity." The nebula shimmered around them, alive with light and energy, a silent witness to humanity's spirit. Somewhere deep within, the alien queen considered the solitary humans on the Aurora, and the remarkable qualities that made them so dangerous, so fascinating, and so undeniably human. Elias exhaled, a calm determination settling over him. "Whatever comes next," he said, "we face it together. That is what humans do. That is why we endure, and that is why we are not afraid." The Aurora continued to drift through the nebula, carrying its crew deeper into the unknown, and somewhere within the living colors of the nebula, the alien queen watched, intrigued, thoughtful, and perhaps even impressed. Humans had passed the test, not by weapons or strength, but by courage, ingenuity, and the moral resolve that defined their species. And in doing so, they had made an impression that no alien could ignore. The Aurora glided silently through the glowing colors of the nebula, its crew tense but resolute. Captain Elias Mercer stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the swirling lights outside. The memory of the alien queen's gaze and her probing question still lingered in his mind. "Is there no one with you, human?" It had been hours since the last encounter, yet Elias could feel her presence. A subtle awareness that stretched across the nebula like a living shadow. The Queen had tested them, observed their courage, ingenuity, and morality. And now she was waiting for the next move. "Kaito," Elias said, turning to the young ensign, "what are the latest readings from the nebula?" Kaito's fingers danced across the console. "Captain, the energy patterns are stabilizing, but there's a focal point ahead. Something massive, unlike anything we've seen. The readings suggest it's not just energy, it has structure, purpose, and intelligence. And it's reacting to us. I think the Queen is calling us." Elias felt a chill run through him. "Calling us? You mean she wants us to go there?" Kaito nodded. "Yes. She's creating a path, almost inviting us. But it feels like a test. One wrong move, and we could trigger a response we're not ready for." Elias exhaled slowly. This was it. The moment when humanity would face a choice that could shape its future. To retreat was safe, but could mean missed opportunity. To advance was dangerous, but it could demonstrate humanity's courage and resolve. "Mara, bring me a status report," Elias said. "We need to be prepared for whatever lies ahead." Mara Singh's voice was steady, though her eyes reflected the tension on the bridge. "All systems are functioning, Captain. Shields, engines, and life support are at full capacity. Crew readiness is high, but we're walking into the unknown. Whatever this structure is, it's beyond our comprehension." Elias nodded. "Then we proceed carefully. Humanity survives by facing the unknown, not by hiding from it. We show her who we are." The Aurora followed the energy pathway, drifting closer to the focal point. The colors of the nebula seemed to shift, forming patterns that were almost like symbols. Elias realized that this was no random formation. This was a deliberate message. The alien queen was guiding them, observing how they interpreted and responded to her signals. As they approached, the structure revealed itself. A colossal crystalline palace, even larger than the one they had first encountered. Towers spiraled, impossibly into the nebula. Bridges arched in ways that defied physics, and energy pulses radiated outward like the heartbeat of a living being. The Queen awaited them within, her form shimmering and fluid, her eyes glowing with intelligence that felt almost overwhelming. The bridge fell silent as the crew stared at the spectacle. Elias felt the familiar pressure of the Queen's mind, probing him once again. "You have survived the challenges," her thought reached him. "You have shown courage, ingenuity, and compassion. Yet the greatest test remains. You must choose. Will you retreat to safety, or will you step forward into the unknown?" Elias's heart pounded. He knew that this choice was not only his own, it reflected the values of humanity. To retreat would show caution, but it would also signal fear. To advance would demonstrate courage, but it carried risk that could threaten their lives. He looked at his crew, each face a mixture of anticipation and trust. They had followed him through storms, anomalies, and moral dilemmas. They had proven that humans were capable of remarkable feats, even under pressure. Now, they awaited his decision. "Captain," Mara said quietly, "whatever we decide together. But I think the Queen wants to see what it means to be human. Not just as a species, but as individuals who act with courage and conscience." Elias nodded. "Yes. She is testing us, yes. But she is also offering a choice. This is our chance to show that humanity does not fear the unknown. That we act with intelligence, empathy, and courage, even when survival is uncertain." He turned back to the pathway leading into the palace. "Set a course," he said firmly. "We go forward. We face this challenge as humans do, with careful planning, clear thinking, and courage. Everyone ready?" "Aye, Captain," the crew responded in unison. As the Aurora moved closer, the Queen's form solidified within the crystal towers. Her presence filled the minds of everyone on the bridge, a mix of curiosity, observation, and quiet power. Elias felt the enormity of what they were attempting. To enter the heart of the alien realm was to step into a space shaped by intelligence far beyond human understanding. One mistake could be fatal, yet Elias felt no fear. humanity had faced impossible odds for centuries. Explorers, pioneers, and leaders who had walked into danger with nothing but courage and ingenuity. That same spirit now guided him. The pathway ended at a massive archway of crystal, glowing with pulsating light. Elias knew this was the threshold. He felt the Queen's presence like a river of thought pressing against him. Enter, human. Show me your essence. He glanced at his crew, who met his gaze with quiet determination. This is it, he said softly. Whatever happens, we act with intelligence, courage, and humanity. Trust each other, trust yourselves, and trust what makes us human. The ship passed through the archway. Immediately, the Aurora's sensors went wild. Energy fields fluctuated, gravity shifted unpredictably, and the ship's systems strained under the alien environment. The crew worked in perfect coordination, adjusting shields, engines, and energy distribution to maintain stability. Elias felt the Queen's presence intensify. You are capable, she thought, yet still fragile. One choice can change everything. Why do you continue forward? Because we endure, Elias replied silently. Because we survive. Because we are human. The palace interior unfolded before them, a vast expanse of crystal and energy, towers reaching into the void, bridges shimmering with light. The laws of physics seemed flexible here, yet the environment was structured and purposeful. Elias realized that the Queen had created a space to test them, to observe not just their actions but their ability to adapt to the unknown. Suddenly, a new challenge appeared. Energy barriers blocked the ship's path, shifting unpredictably. The barriers were not harmful, but they threatened to trap the Aurora if approached incorrectly. Kaito quickly analyzed the patterns. Captain, the barriers are like a puzzle. We must find the sequence to pass safely. One wrong move could leave us stuck, or worse. Elias studied the barriers, recalling every problem-solving exercise and trial they had faced in the nebula. This is not about strength, he said. It's about observation, reasoning, and timing. We act as humans do, carefully, thoughtfully, and with courage. Mara, guide the ship along my instructions. Crew, be ready for adjustments at a moment's notice. They moved through the barriers, with precision, each step demonstrating the combination of intelligence, teamwork, and adaptability that defined humans. The Queen watched silently, her presence heavy yet focused. She had seen strength, ingenuity, and compassion, but now she was seeing human creativity in real time, applied to a situation far beyond any conventional challenge. Finally, they reached the heart of the palace, a central chamber filled with radiant energy. The Queen appeared before them in full, her form shimmering like liquid crystal. She studied them intently, and for the first time, Elias felt not fear, but a sense of mutual recognition. You have chosen wisely, her thoughts flowed into his mind. You have faced the unknown with courage, intelligence, and morality. You are human, and yet you are alone. That is your greatest strength and your greatest vulnerability. Elias met her gaze, unwavering. I may be one, but I represent many. Humanity survives not by numbers alone, but by courage, intelligence, and moral strength. We endure because we act with purpose, care for each other, and never give up, even in the face of the unknown. That is what makes us human. The Queen's presence pulsed with consideration. She had observed humans in impossible circumstances, faced challenges they could not predict, and demonstrated qualities that were both fascinating and terrifying. Yet she sensed that Elias's words were true. Humanity's strength was not in power, size, or dominance, but in courage, ingenuity, and the will to endure. Very well, human, she thought. You have chosen. You have acted with courage, intelligence, and moral clarity. Your species is remarkable and dangerous. Your path will continue, guided by your choices and observed by mine. Elias exhaled, feeling the weight of the Queen's words. This was more than a test. It was a recognition of humanity's value. a validation of the qualities that had allowed them to survive and thrive for centuries. And yet, it was also a warning. The universe was vast, and humans were now a presence that could not be ignored. The Queen withdrew, folding the crystal palace into a compact form that drifted silently in the nebula. The pathway back opened, and the Aurora prepared to leave. Elias knew that the trials were not over. This encounter would shape humanity's relationship with the Queen and with the universe itself. He looked at his crew, pride swelling in his chest. "We have made our choice," he said softly. "We faced the unknown, and we showed what it means to be human. Whatever comes next, we act together, with courage, intelligence, and heart. That is our strength, that is our essence, and that is why we endure." The Aurora drifted out of the palace and back into the nebula, carrying its crew toward the unknown. And somewhere within the living, glowing, the Aurora drifted silently through the nebula, the brilliant colors of violet, gold, and green reflecting off its hull. Captain Elias Mercer stood at the bridge, his hands gripping the railing, eyes fixed on the endless expanse of glowing clouds. The trials with the alien queen had left their mark, not just on him but on the entire crew. Every one of them had faced tests of courage, intelligence, and morality. Every one of them had survived. Yet Elias knew the most important test was still ahead, proving that humanity was a species worthy of respect, and perhaps even admiration, in a universe that had long considered humans small and insignificant. "Kaito," Elias said, his voice steady but thoughtful. "What are the readings now?" "Are we being observed still?" Kaito glanced at the console, his brow furrowed. "The energy patterns are still active, Captain, but they're different. They're no longer probing. It's almost like the Queen is evaluating us quietly. We've passed the challenges, but now she is waiting to see what we do next." Elias nodded. He understood. The alien Queen had tested their courage, their ingenuity, and their morality. Now she was observing how humans acted when no immediate danger threatened them, how they interacted, how they communicated, and how they led. "Mara," Elias said, turning to his trusted lieutenant, "prepare a report of our actions. Document everything, the solutions, the decisions, the teamwork. The Queen may want evidence, and humanity deserves to have its achievements remembered." Mara nodded, already typing rapidly. "Yes, Captain. It will be detailed and clear. Every action, every decision, every outcome." The Aurora glided closer to the central area of the nebula, the energy flows intensifying. The air inside the ship, or at least the sense of air the bridge's atmosphere, felt heavier. It was as if the nebula itself was alive, watching, considering, and reflecting on the humans aboard the vessel. Elias thought about the challenges they had faced: the ionized storm, the trapped creatures, the shifting gravitational distortions, and the puzzle-like barriers of the Crystal Palace. Each had tested their intellect, bravery, and morality. Each had been overcome by ingenuity, teamwork, and human spirit. "Captain," Kaito said softly, "I think she's preparing one final test. The readings are unstable but coherent. It's as if she is presenting an opportunity to demonstrate something beyond mere survival." Elias exhaled. "Then we show her humanity at its best, not just intelligence or bravery, but what we stand for. Our values, our principles. That is what makes us remarkable." Suddenly, the Aurora entered a clearing in the nebula where the colors pulsed in perfect rhythm. A massive crystalline structure hovered in the center, unlike anything they had seen before. Its surface reflected the nebula's energy, and inside a chamber of light stretched infinitely. The alien queen appeared, her form more vivid and tangible than before, as if she had drawn herself fully into their reality. "You have survived the challenges," her thought reached Elias. "You have demonstrated courage, ingenuity, and morality. But now the ultimate question remains. What is humanity capable of when it is free to act according to its highest principles?" Elias met her gaze, feeling the weight of her presence. "We are capable of hope. We are capable of growth. We are capable of courage, empathy, and understanding. We survive not by strength alone, but by intelligence, morality, and the ability to learn from every experience. That is what humanity is. That is why we endure." The Queen's form shimmered in response, and the nebula pulsed as if acknowledging his words. The final test was not a puzzle, a storm, or a barrier. It was observation of character, of purpose, and of spirit. Elias turned to his crew. Now we act as humans do, not to impress but to live according to our principles. Show her that we are more than survival machines. We are thinkers, creators, protectors, and leaders. We endure because we care, because we innovate, and because we never give up. The crew nodded, their confidence unwavering. Together, they activated a series of coordinated maneuvers, not for combat, but as a demonstration of human precision, cooperation, and thought. The Aurora moved through the central chamber, adjusting its energy output shields and navigation in perfect harmony. Every action was calculated yet flexible, demonstrating adaptability, intelligence, and teamwork. The Queen observed silently, her thoughts flowing like a river through Elias's mind. You act with intelligence and precision, yet your decisions are guided by conscience. You lead not for domination, but for preservation and growth. Your species is remarkable. Then the final demonstration began. Elias noticed a cluster of strange energy beings trapped in a luminous field at the center of the chamber. They were small, fragile, and entirely dependent on external help. No human had been forced to face them before. The choice was clear. Leave them undisturbed and the Aurora would pass unchallenged, or intervene, risking the ship's safety to save the creatures. Elias felt the weight of the decision. This was more than survival, it was morality. Humanity had endured because it cared, because it acted according to principles higher than mere self-preservation. We save them, he said firmly. Humanity does not abandon life in need. That is who we are. The crew moved quickly and efficiently. Using the ship's energy manipulation systems, they stabilized the field, carefully releasing the creatures without harm. As the beings floated free, they emitted a soft glow, circling the ship as if in gratitude. Elias watched them, pride swelling in his chest. This is humanity. Courage, ingenuity, and morality together. That is what defines us. The alien queen's presence expanded, filling the chamber. You have shown your essence, she thought. You are courageous, intelligent, and compassionate. You act not for glory, but for principle. You endure. You inspire. You are human. Elias exhaled, feeling the tension in his body ease. The nebula around them shimmered and pulsed as if acknowledging the success of the human demonstration. Humanity had faced tests that no other species could have imagined, and had passed them not by strength alone, but by qualities that were uniquely human: creativity, courage, empathy, and moral clarity. Captain, Mara said softly, I think she understands us now. She sees what we are. Elias nodded. Yes, and more than that, she respects us. We have shown that humanity is unpredictable, yes, but also remarkable. One human alone may be small, but our spirit carries the weight of many. That is our strength. The Queen's thoughts reached him one final time. You are human, alone yet never truly solitary. You endure. You inspire. You are dangerous to those who underestimate you, and magnificent to those who understand your essence. Go and continue your path. The universe will watch, and I will watch. With that, the crystal palace receded, folding into itself, leaving the Aurora drifting in the open expanse of the nebula. The crew looked at each other, relief and awe mixed with pride. They had survived the alien queen's tests. They had shown her the unique qualities of humanity, and they had done so together as a team bound by courage, intelligence, and conscience. Elias allowed himself a rare smile. We've done it, he said quietly. We've shown the universe what it means to be human, and this is only the beginning. The nebula shimmered around the ship, alive with color and energy, a silent witness to the triumph of human courage, ingenuity, and moral strength. Elias felt the pulse of the nebula, a reminder that humanity had made its presence known. Cato, he said, log all data, all observations. Every detail of this encounter is history now. Humanity has proven itself and the record must show it. Cato nodded, typing rapidly. Yes, Captain. Every observation, every decision, every outcome. It will be recorded for posterity. Mara glanced at Elias. Do you think we'll encounter her again? Elias looked out at the nebula, thoughtful. Perhaps, but we no longer fear her. We have faced the unknown and we have proven ourselves. Whatever comes, humanity will endure. We are small, yes, but our spirit is vast. And that is what makes us human. The aurora turned slowly, following a path deeper into the nebula. The stars beyond glimmered like distant beacons, reminding Elias that the universe was wide, full of unknown challenges, and full of opportunity. Humanity had survived and humanity had triumphed, not through weapons, not through force, but through courage, ingenuity, morality, and spirit. Somewhere, far beyond their sight, the alien queen watched silently, her thoughts thoughtful and profound. Humanity had made its mark, and she knew that the species was a force unlike any other, a species that could endure, inspire, and challenge the universe itself. Elias pressed his hand to the console, feeling the hum of the aurora beneath him. We endure, we survive, we inspire, and we are human. The crew stood together, their faces reflecting pride, courage, and determination. They had faced impossible tests, survived trials beyond imagination, and emerged as representatives of humanity's essence. And in the vastness of space, that essence would continue to shine, a testament to the spirit of a species capable of great courage, extraordinary ingenuity, and boundless moral strength. As the aurora sailed through the nebula, Elias whispered to himself a quiet promise carried into the stars. Humanity will endure, humanity will flourish, and no challenge, no matter how vast or unknown, will ever stop us from reaching further, thinking harder, and caring deeper. That is who we are. That is why we are human. The nebula pulsed one final time, a wave of energy and light. Dr. Elias Rowan sat alone in his small research cabin, the soft hum of the equipment filling the room. Outside, the twin moons of the Andromeda frontier rose slowly, casting a silvery glow over the barren landscape. This remote planet had no cities, no forests, and no sounds except the whispering wind. Yet Elias had chosen it for its isolation. Here he could work in peace, far from Earth's busy world, without distractions and, most importantly, without interference from other humans. Elias was studying a new type of energy, a force that could, in theory, revolutionize space travel. His work had taken years, and every day felt like a small step into the unknown. While others sought fame or fortune, Elias was driven by curiosity, a simple desire to understand the universe. Tonight, like every other night, he monitored the equipment, jotting down notes in his worn notebook. A sudden flicker on the edge of his vision made him freeze. The machines were still, the air calm, yet he sensed something, a presence. It was faint at first, almost like a shadow moving against the pale light of the moons. Elias rubbed his eyes, thinking he was imagining things. He had been alone for weeks. The isolation played tricks on the mind. Then a soft voice spoke, so soft it almost seemed like part of the wind. "Human, are you by yourself?" Elias jumped back, his heart pounding. His eyes scanned the cabin, but he saw nothing. The voice had no accent, no sound of breath. It was smooth, calm, and strangely melodic. "Who's there?" he called, trying to steady his voice. "I mean no harm," the voice said again. This time, Elias noticed a faint shimmer near the edge of the lab. It grew brighter, like a liquid light moving through the air, forming into a shape, slender, tall, with features that were vaguely human but not quite. The being's skin shimmered like liquid silver, and its eyes glowed softly with colors that seemed impossible to name. Elias's mind raced. Was this a hallucination? A trick of the isolation? But the being, Lyra, as he would later learn her name, stood before him real, radiant, and intelligent. I am alone," Elias managed to say. His voice sounded small in the vast, empty lab. He could feel the cold air of fear brushing against his skin, but it was mixed with awe. Lyra tilted her head slightly as if studying him. "Alone, yet different from the others," she said. Her voice carried no judgment, only curiosity. "You are human. I have seen many species, yet you are different. Alone and yet capable of things many cannot imagine." Elias's hands shook as he reached for his notebook. He needed proof, a record, something that would explain what he was seeing. "Different, how?" he asked, voice trembling slightly. Lyra's light shifted, casting gentle reflections around the room. "Humans," she began, "are rare in the universe. Your species is unique. You feel, create, imagine, and even when alone you do not simply survive. You grow, you learn. You wonder, that is unusual." Elias blinked, trying to absorb the words. He had spent his life studying energy, matter, and physics, but this was something he had never expected. I don't understand. Why are you here? I observe, Lyra said simply. We watch species across galaxies. Most follow patterns, rules, predictable paths. Humans, you do not. That is why I asked if you were alone. The galaxy rarely allows a species like yours to exist without guidance or control. Yet, here you are, creating, experimenting, imagining, alone. Elias felt a strange mix of fear and pride. No other intelligent beings had ever spoken to him like this. And to think that just by existing he had attracted attention, it was overwhelming. You've been watching Earth? He asked. Lyra's glow pulsed softly, a rhythm that seemed like a heartbeat. Not only Earth, many worlds, many species. But humans, you stand out. Your potential is remarkable. Elias sat down, trying to steady his thoughts. The lab suddenly felt small, insignificant compared to the presence before him. His mind raced with questions, yet the words caught in his throat. How could he explain human curiosity, creativity, and courage in a way that an alien could understand? And yet, Lyra seemed to understand already. Why me? Elias finally whispered. Because you are here, alone, seeking knowledge not for power, not for war, not for gain, but for understanding. That is rare. That is what brought me to you, she replied. For a long moment, silence filled the lab except for the gentle hum of machines. Elias stared at Lyra, unsure whether to feel fear, excitement, or wonder. He realized that in this moment his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a human scientist on a remote planet. He was someone who had caught the attention of beings far beyond Earth's understanding. Then Lyra moved closer, or rather, the light moved closer, flowing around him without touching. Do you know why I asked if you were alone? She asked. Because humans, when together, can hide their true strength. Alone, you show what is possible without influence, without restraint. Alone you reveal your essence. Elias felt a chill. He had worked alone by choice, never realizing that his solitude was more than a personal preference. It was a demonstration of human potential. He thought of the hours he had spent in his lab, the nights staring at the stars, the experiments that had failed and succeeded. All of it mattered. Somehow it mattered to this being, to the universe. I don't know what to say, he admitted. Words felt small, insignificant. Then say nothing, Lyra said gently. Let your actions speak. Let your mind think. That is enough for now. Elias looked out the window at the barren, moonlit landscape. He felt both lonely and connected. Lonely because he was still alone on this planet. Connected because the universe had noticed him, noticed humanity. The thought was overwhelming and humbling. You have questions, Lyra continued. I can answer some, others. You must discover yourself. That is how humans grow. That is how you are remarkable. Elias swallowed hard. Will you stay? For now, Lyra replied, her light pulsing softly. I am here to watch, to learn, and to guide only if necessary. But the path you take, that is yours. That is what makes you human. The hours passed quickly, yet it felt like minutes. Elias and Lyra shared a silent understanding, a connection that transcended words. For the first time he realized that humans were not alone in the galaxy, but not in the way he had imagined. The universe had been watching all along, and now one of its beings had come to him, not as a conqueror or a threat, but as a witness. As the first light of dawn crept across the horizon, Lyra's glow began to fade. Rest, human. Tomorrow we will see what you can do. Today, you only exist, and that is enough. Elias watched as the luminous being drifted into the sky, disappearing beyond the horizon. The question she had asked, the question that had shocked him, echoed in his mind. Human, are you by yourself? He was alone in the lab, yes, but he was not alone in the universe. And for the first time he felt a pride he had never known. A quiet strength that came not from machines or experiments, but from being human, unique, curious, and resilient. Elias knew his life had changed forever. The galaxy was no longer a distant dream. It was here, and he was a part of it. Alone, yes, but ready. The morning sun rose over the Andromeda frontier, casting a soft golden light across the barren landscape. Dr. Elias Rowan woke with a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. Last night had been unlike anything he had ever experienced. The memory of Lyra, the luminous being, haunted his thoughts. Her question, human, are you by yourself, lingered in his mind. He moved to the lab, sipping on recycled water and scanning his notes from the previous day. His experiments, which once felt routine, now seemed small in comparison to the larger reality Lyra had introduced. He was alone in the lab, yet somehow he felt the universe observing him, not with judgment but with interest. Suddenly the air shimmered. Lyra appeared, her light brighter in the morning sun, yet softer, like sunlight on water. "You are awake," she said, her voice calm and melodic. "Good. There is much to discuss." Elias stood unsure whether to bow, wave, or simply stare. I am ready," he said, trying to sound confident. Inside his heart pounded. "Good," Lyra replied. "Yesterday you learned that humans are unusual in the galaxy. Today I will explain why." Elias felt a shiver of curiosity. He had always known that humans were clever, resilient, and creative, but he had never thought of it as a cosmic significance. Why are we special?" he asked. Lyra's glow pulsed, casting gentle reflections across the lab walls. Most species across galaxies follow rules and patterns. Their civilizations grow and fall according to predictable cycles. They rely on logic, strength, and numbers. Few question beyond survival. Few create beyond necessity. Humans, you are different. Elias listened carefully. "Different? How?" "You are capable of imagination," Lyra said. "You invent, you write, you paint, you dream. You solve problems not only with logic, but with emotion and intuition. You care even when caring brings risk. You fight even when the odds are against you. You are unpredictable. And that makes you valuable." Elias's mind raced. He had always felt pride in human creativity, but to hear it spoken aloud by a being from another world was astonishing. "So, it's not just intelligence?" he asked. "No," Lyra said. "Intelligence alone is common. Many species are smart. But humans, your intelligence is combined with curiosity, empathy, courage, and imagination. You challenge the rules, you question authority. You act when others hesitate. That is rare. That is why I am here." Elias tried to imagine countless civilizations, all predictable, all following patterns, and then humans, standing out like a bright flickering flame. The thought was overwhelming. "And you've seen many species?" he asked. "I have," Lyra replied. "Many. Some are strong, some are clever, some are organized. But few create without reason, few act without direction, few dream beyond survival. Humans do. That is why your existence matters. That is why your species is noticed." Elias felt a swell of pride mixed with fear. Humans had always faced challenges, wars, diseases, disasters, and yet they survived. More than survived, they adapted, created, and evolved. He realized that this resilience, this spark of life, was not just a personal trait, but a cosmic one. "Does this mean we are important?" Elias asked. The word felt heavy on his tongue. "You are," Lyra said, "but importance carries responsibility. Your species can change the balance of civilizations. You can bring hope or you can bring chaos. That is why humans are observed carefully. You are unpredictable and the galaxy does not like surprises. Yet surprises are your strength." Elias's mind raced with questions. "So, you've been watching Earth?" "Not only Earth," Lyra replied. "Many worlds with intelligent life. But humans are unique. On many planets, life follows patterns. It survives, it evolves, it fights. But rarely does it create beyond necessity. Humans do, even when creation brings no advantage, that is, remarkable." Elias thought of music, art, literature, and inventions, the things humans did simply because they could, not because survival demanded it. "So, our creativity, it matters to the galaxy?" Lyra's light pulsed gently. "Yes, your creativity, your courage, your ability to feel and think beyond the immediate. These are the traits that make you rare. Many civilizations grow in strength but remain predictable. Humans, you grow in spirit, and that is harder to measure, harder to predict, and therefore, more powerful." Elias swallowed hard. He felt a mixture of awe and responsibility. If humans were noticed by civilizations across galaxies, then every action, every discovery, every choice mattered in ways he had never imagined. "Can humans influence other civilizations?" he asked carefully. "Yes," Lyra said, "but not through force alone. Many species can fight, conquer, or enslave. Humans can do that too. But what makes you unique is your ability to inspire, to create, to change minds without violence. That is rare. That is why your species has potential beyond what you can see." Elias thought of human history. Explorers crossing oceans, inventors creating machines, artists changing how people think, leaders inspiring hope. All of it was proof that humans could affect the world, and now he realized possibly the galaxy. But why me? He asked. Why now? I am just one human, alone on a remote planet. Lyria's glow brightened and her voice softened. Because even one human can show the spark of your species. Alone, without influence, without fear of judgment, you reveal what humans are capable of. That is why I came to you, to witness, to understand, to see if you and your species are ready for what lies ahead. Elias felt a mixture of fear and pride. Alone, he had spent years in his lab, building, testing, failing, and learning. He had never realized that these small acts were part of a larger truth. Humans, even individually, could shine in ways the galaxy had never expected. So, humans are special, he whispered, trying to grasp the weight of Lyria's words. You are, Lyria confirmed. But special does not mean safe. There are civilizations that see unpredictability as a threat. There are worlds that value order above all. Humans, you challenge the balance simply by existing. That is why the universe notices. That is why I asked if you were alone. Elias remembered the exact moment, her first words, the question that had shocked him. Human. Are you by yourself? It had seemed simple then, but now he understood. She was not asking about his physical presence. She was asking about humanity itself, whether it could stand on its own without guidance, without control, and still shine. Can humans survive in such a galaxy? He asked, voice trembling slightly. Lyria's glow pulsed gently, reassuringly. Yes, but survival alone is not enough. You must grow. You must learn. You must act not only for yourselves, but for what humans can bring to the universe. That is your strength and your responsibility. Elias felt a shiver run through him. He had always seen humans as fragile, limited by mortality, conflict, and the smallness of their planet. Yet in Lyria's presence he realized something extraordinary. Humans were not fragile. They were rare. They were resilient. They could change, adapt, and create in ways no other species could. He looked at Lyria, at the radiant being who had come from the stars, and felt a deep sense of connection. I don't know what to do, he admitted. Then begin with what you know, Lyria said softly. Learn, observe, create, that is how humans grow. That is how humans shine, and that will be enough for now. Elias nodded, understanding that his life, his work, and even his solitude had a new meaning. He was not just a human on a remote planet. He was a witness to something far larger than himself. He was part of a species that had been noticed, observed, and, in a way, celebrated. As the twin suns rose higher in the sky, Elias felt a spark of determination. He would continue his experiments, yes, but now with a new purpose. Every calculation, every invention, every discovery could be a step toward showing the galaxy what humans were capable of. Lyria's glow began to fade as she prepared to leave. Rest, human. Tomorrow we will see more. I will show you how humans can act, think, and inspire. But today, you only need to understand your value. You only need to remember that humans are not ordinary. You are extraordinary. Elias watched as she drifted toward the horizon, the light bending and twisting until she vanished into the morning sky. Alone again, he felt a quiet pride, a growing sense of purpose, and the weight of something far greater than himself. Humans were rare. Humans were special, and he even alone had a role to play in proving that to the galaxy.